Check one, two, three. Hey everybody, it's Michael Helms, also known as Michael the Sound Guy, and this is the Location Sound Podcast. You know, each episode we talk with location sound mixers, boom ops, and other industry pros about the various aspects of recording sound on location, whether it's for feature and independent films, TV commercials, interviews, any time where dialogue from actors is recorded. I started my career in the recording studios in New York City with some of the big artists back in the day, and later on projects for networks like HBO, Sci-Fi Channel, and the Cartoon Network. As time went by, I got out of the studio and began working in production sound. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting out, thanks for joining us. My guest today is a boom op and production sound mixer based out of Gloucestershire, England. Please welcome James Alexander Coombe.
Hi, Michael. Good day to you, sir.
Good day to you. All right, James, one of the things that we've been talking with a lot of our guests is, where were you working when the COVID-19 shut everything down?
Well, I just finished my first year as a limited company. So I had a really good year, done lots of work in Bristol at the local studios there, the Bottle Yard Studios, making a few TV programs and doing a lot of sort of support work and dailies last year as a newly established first assistant, but having really mainly done low budget features in that role, but starting to fill in for other established operators over the last year. So it was all going very well, and then crash. So I took up the trumpet.
Did you really?
I did. I literally got given a trumpet by a cousin of mine. She was like, "You like music? Have this." And I learned to play the trumpet for the first couple of months.
Well, that's great. I used to play the trumpet when I was younger.
You did? Ah, good for you. I enjoy it. It's helped me sort of give up smoking. I've been a bit of a smoker over the years, and that has really helped. Every time I wanted to have a fag, as we say in England, I pick up the trumpet and blow my little lungs out.
Well, that's great. Now, where are you recording this from? You have like a little recording space, a little studio?
Yeah, I'm afraid it's a little bit boxy in here at the moment. I've whacked in as many carpets and duvets as I possibly can to try and sort of get the bounce down. But literally over the last couple of days moved into a studio space. So it's going to be office, storage, and music listening, podcasting arena.
Yes, a lot of times without the sound treatment in there, the trumpet would sound really good.
Okay, yeah, I actually haven't even had a blow yet, so I'm waiting to get that on the go. This place is just a room. It's a room within another facility. It's an arts facility, quite a diverse arts facility. There's lots of stuff going on, and there's bands at the far end. Carpenters here, people making woodwork and furniture. The guy that runs the gaff is Zachary Walsh. He's a sort of portrait artist and an abstract artist. There's actually an open exhibition happening today. We have open studios on the weekends. So there's people milling about outside looking at artwork. What else do we have going on here? And we've just received a grant to set up a film, sort of like a very small film suite with a projector and a couple of computers and a couple of cameras. And of course, I've got my audio gear here waiting to roll out. So we're going to hopefully mentor some young filmmakers from this facility and keep ourselves busy while the industry's maintaining its difficult time.
Mm. Now, besides learning to play the trumpet, what other things were you doing? Was it a total lockdown for you, and when did you get back to work?
I only just got back to work really over the last month. I've been watching people going back to work for the last few months, and there's some sort of big TV dramas and some big movies, getting made right now. I've seen that happening, but I haven't had much of a taste of that as of yet. But in the course of the last week, I shot my first TV pilot. for a new outdoor food program, which I can't really talk too much about under NDAs, etc. But it's a really great concept, and fingers crossed, if it goes, it's going to be fun, because the whole crew, it's a really small crew, and everyone's really lovely. I know the producer quite well. He's an artist that comes here also. So yeah, fingers crossed that's a goer. That should be like a long stint of work over the next few years. If I think they're talking like 20 episodes a year.
Yeah, that's great. Getting back on set, what have been the safety protocols that have been implemented for you guys?
Well, I've been lucky enough to forge a nice little relationship with Bumblebee Industries over the last year or so. A couple of the guys one guy that works there now, Aj, he used to work in Pink Noise, which is one of our big distribution shops here, actually based in Gloucestershire. So I've been kindly gifted a box of their production sound safety gear. So I've just been using that. I rock up on set and I've got my Bumblebee baseball cap with a visor on, and armed to the teeth with cleaning solutions, making sure the microphones are clean, whacking them into bags, and if at all possible, showing the talent how to radio mic themselves. Like I say, I've only done one job over the course of lockdown, so just one experience actually to really talk about, but they were pleased to see that I was well prepared and taking into consideration the virus.
Right. Now, what all is included in this Bumblebee kit?
Okay, so in the Bumblebee production sound safety kit, you have a visor cap with a screen which clips on with the clip-on buttons. You have a number of lav mic pouches, so you can, after you've taken your lavs off and cleaned them after the night, you can put them back in there sealed and safe and ready to give back to talent or your operator. There's a number of face masks in there, 2 in fact. Then you have some accessory tubs so they can be kept clean too. Some cable binders, and you get 4 little dispenser bottles with a carabiner on, so your crew can have a Dettol to hand, and a couple of marker pens. Bless them. Really, really sweet little kit. Very considerate bunch of people, the Bumblebee guys.
All right, James. Well, let's talk about what kind of gear you're using when you're a production sound mixer on set. So kind of walk us through what's in your audio kit. So mixer, recorder, preferred mics, and everything in between.
Okie dokie. So this year is literally the first year I've gone into the world of production sound mixing. Up to this stage, I've been operating pretty hard and assisting. When it comes to the tech, I'm a fan of the analog old school stuff. So my front end is a SQN 5S mixer, British made. I'm not that patriotic, but I do like English kit. I like the electronics that we make over here. We seem to do quite a nice job, especially of analog stuff. So I have a big fancy, heavy front end, which goes into, I've got a Zoom F8N, which is my recorder. In terms of my radio mics, I use Audio Limited. So I've got an RK3 and 32040s going into the SQN, which goes into the F8. Battery-wise, I use a Hawkwoods, the MPU SQN4S, Hawkwoods MP1 Reg power adapter, and I use SWIT batteries, got 4 of those. I've got a couple of mini transmitters as well, mini 2040s, which work on the AAAs, and for more high D situations, when it's paramount to get the mic hidden. The 2040s are quite large compared to a lot of the more current Lectrosonics mic packs, but I just love the sound. I still love that sound. It's what I trained on 12 years ago, and I still can't get away from that sound. It just works for me. COS 11's going into the 2040s. I've got a couple of DPAs as well adapted, but I find the COS 11's just, I just know them very well and they work for me. That's sort of the bag. and the radios. I just use a Sennheiser 416 as my exterior mic. I trust it wholeheartedly. I've just got to have one exterior mic and one interior mic, both Sennheisers. I love my 416. As an operator over the years, I've used every mic you can list, and a lot of them in difficult situations, humidity, on beaches, storage, etc., have let me down and let us down as crews. But that 416 will never let you down. It seems to just keep going and going and going and going under every single condition. So in terms of reliability, it's the one. I love that. And I've got a MKH 50, which of course this is the mic I'm using and speaking on right now. It has a lovely bottom end to it, and it is the sound of movies and television to my ears. Yeah, that's my mics. Other kit, I'm using the Tentacles for synchronizing, and they seem to work very well. Not overly expensive, lightweight. Cameramen love them. They're not too bulky. In terms of comms, I use just a very simple Sennheiser system, and I've got like a Trantec, an old Trantec system which a friend gifted me recently. They're really old and plasticky. They don't look fancy, but they're not expensive, and I'd prefer to give those to directors and producers who tend to not look after their stuff as carefully as we do a lot of the times, and they seem to work really nice. They've got like a dangly aerial that doesn't get clipped and doesn't get pulled too much. Oh, and I used the Sidekick 2 the other day. Bumblebee Industries gave me a Sidekick 2, which I used with the Trantec system. Oh, I did a picture of our producer he had a lovely hat on, and he was really chuffed to have such a low profile in-ear monitor with the option to change the adapter. There's like 4 levels of adapting to the in-ear piece. Each one allows a different amount of sound through. So you can have very isolated listening, or you can let the world in, so to speak. And he loved it because he could communicate. He could keep an ear on a mix, and he could wear his lovely hat without having to put big bulky cans on or over the head earphones. So he's very chuffed. Loved it a lot. So yeah, big up Bumblebee again.
Okay, when you first got started in the industry, you did something with the BBC's Waking the Dead, and that was one of your first projects, and it was a traineeship. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was quite an experience. I was working in IT at the time after leaving university. It was like my first job out of uni, and I was getting a bit bored being trapped in the dungeon of the IT department. Thinking, what am I going to do with my audio and music technology qualification I got from university, and felt like my degree had been wasted a little bit on IT. So I started applying for work experience at the BBC. The BBC is notorious for having good work experience plans. So I applied for a number. I applied for some outdoor broadcasting, I applied for drama. I actually really wanted to do the outdoor broadcasting. I quite like the idea of being out in the field at music festivals or even current affairs. But that wasn't to be. And a drama opportunity came up. The school I was working for kindly supported me in going to do the work experience and paid for my train fare, and they kindly gave me some time off work. Even though I was searching another career, they were very supportive of that. They knew that I'd be able to bring back something for them too and teach a little bit to the kids in between, possibly, changing careers. So I went up and did a few days on a BBC tester. If I remember rightly, the mixer cancelled right at the last minute, and I sort of left going, crikey, that's a bit annoying. So I contacted him directly and said, listen, I've booked all this time off work and I've got babysitters, etc. Can I just be there? Can I just come up and watch? I don't know why you cancelled, but turns out he cancelled because the BBC they were getting cheap labour. essentially, from a lot of young people, and he didn't really agree with that. But I said, let's go, come on, let's do this. I'll be there, I'll help you out, whatever you need. I might as well. I booked the time off work. So it kindly sort of went, okay, come along and help out. And it turned out to be really worth it, because after the 3 days, his name's Simon Clark. He's now a teacher at the National Film School here in the UK. So he offered me 6 months traineeship on Waking the Dead, which is, according to the crew, if you can do that, you can do anything. It was a very difficult job, tricky cast members, tricky locations, tricky studio work, lots of reflections, lots in and out of rooms and offices, a real challenge. And I was sort of thrown in at the deep end. Never held a pole before. I mean, I knew my stuff when it came to sort of the basic electronics, cabling, mixers, etc. But the art of boom operating was something to behold, literally. And 6 months on that really set me up for the rest of my career. It was a real traineeship if you're starting out, and I highly recommend getting on a big job that's intense like that, because that's how you learn.
Okay. Now, in the UK and the bigger projects, what is it required to be a trainee and kind of work your way through the system?
Absolutely, yeah. Traineeships can go on for a number of years. I mean, if you're good, you'll step up quick. Of course, it depends on your contacts and the projects you get involved with, and how much responsibility you're given early on. Because I was given a lot of responsibility very early on, but I've worked on projects where my trainees, or I know of trainees that haven't even touched a microphone or got involved in the sort of on-set etiquette operating for years and years, 2-3 years. I mean, a good trainee's worth its weight in gold, because they're worth their weight in gold, because they can get stuff done. But that requires you have a bit of a larger team, whereas I was sort of like the second assistant, but being paid a trainee wage and having to really learn on the day. So it was a little, politically speaking, probably not such a great thing to reveal, but experience-wise for me, it was invaluable, and it got me higher up the ladder sooner.
Interesting. Well, let's see. One of the first features you did as a first assistant sound, that was Philophobia?
Yeah, that was my first feature film as first AS. Philophobia was a particularly good film in the course of my career, because it was being filmed in my hometown, so I didn't have to leave Gloucestershire. I didn't have to go to the city. It was in a really lovely little town in Gloucestershire called Stroud, where I live. And the director was a cameraman and a focus puller over the years. He's just a sweet guy. And half the crew were from the town, so we were like a lot of us knew each other. So it was a very homely feel, and we were all living in and out of each other's pockets and houses and flats, and some of the crew were in hotels, but a lot of us were just at home. So it was really lovely to be able to sort of leave home in the morning and walk to work. So that had a really lovely feel like that. I was on to record it, but turns out there was a better man for the job, Richard Thomas, who's a really nice man and a great technician and a great recordist. So I supported him with Joe Gidley, who's an excellent second assistant. So that was the dream team. So it was a really great experience, and really great to work with those sound guys. Richard uses some excellent equipment. He uses the Sonosax gear. These extremely small but expensive theatre radio mics, the Sennheiser SK series radio mics, and we were using DPAs as well on that. So the film, I mean, say what you like about it story-wise, or it's just got a cinema release recently, UK cinema release across the board, but it sounds great. It's a really great sounding film, in my opinion, my humble opinion.
Did you just put a promo on your Instagram page? Because I think I saw the little preview.
Yeah, it's just got a load of UK releases. I mean, the American market really dug it. I mean, they went out there to promo it about a year ago, and it got a really good response from the American market. It's a teen movie based here in the UK. The Americans loved it, but we're hoping the UK market's gonna like it too. So it's got like 20, 30 cinema dates. It's an independent film. You know, off the back of that, I got a load of work because most of the people on that film were young, up and coming filmmakers, and I'd sort of been in the industry a little while, and I was sort of the old man of the crew. But that young bunch of filmmakers have gone on to do really, really well, and they've got me a good few jobs over the last couple of years.
Okay, yeah. In the promo, I saw a lot of there was a lot of water shots of the actors having conversation in the water. So were there any particular miking challenges that you had to deal with?
Oh my God, yeah. There was a scene in a lake that had a lot of mud in, and we couldn't platform because they wanted to shoot closer to the reeds. So I was in my wellies, my gaiters, and I had my IEM receiver in a plastic bag strapped to my shoulder, trying to keep that out of the water all the time. Quite a challenge indeed. And the scary bit was having the lamp on the side of the riverbank, and you're thinking, Christ, if that thing goes in, we're all a goner, you know. So it was pretty sketchy, you know, in terms of, I mean, it was all, you know, fastened down, but you just look at the electrics like there at the water's edge, and you're going, what am I doing in it? But what do we use? There's no radio mics on that. You couldn't have a radio mic in that situation because they're virtually naked up to their neck in water. So it had to boom, and we couldn't boom from the deck because it was so far away from the deck and from the water's edge. So it was get in there and get the wireless boom over the top.
Now, was the water cold?
Yeah, because it got a little bit cold because we went over a couple of weeks, and we started shooting sort of end of the summer. So by the time we were all in there doing this summer scene, it was October. It was like the beginning of October, end of September. So it was a wee bit chilly. But we were all in there. There was lots of blankets, and there's lots of people to warm you up with a cup of coffee when you get out. It was a nice day when we shot that. There was lots of fun to be had, and lots of excited people around. So the energy was high. So we were all keeping warm.
All right. Let's see. You also worked on The Woman in Black with Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, that was my first movie experience. That's the first time I'd gone to Pinewood and shot on a large set. The first time I'd been, you know, far away from home. I'd gone up to Yorkshire, to the Dales. So yeah, that was my first experience of a large movie with a bit more budget than the TV stuff I'd done previously. So that was a great experience.
Was that all primarily on a soundstage?
It was about half and half, I would have said. So we went out for the first half of the shooting schedule out in the field and did all the location stuff, which was really quite tricky, really difficult. There was a lot of mud, a lot of rain, a lot of stone walls, and some big old. It was a big old Rolls Royce. Can't remember the model of it now. Silver. Anyway, this thing was such a machine. It put out a lot of RF from its engine, so it was blipping and blasting all the radio mics. And we were throwing up aerials on the extension cables and running after this thing and getting the radio packs up on the back of the actors. There was a lot of challenges on that film, a lot, especially with the radio mics. And these dense, heavy-duty, sort of authentic costumes made of wool. Everyone was part-shaven. They were wearing these really starchy old collars and neckties. So it was quite a battle. It was like sound war with with costume and props. And then when you get in the studio, it's like, it doesn't sound like a house. It's it's made of wood. it's like a wooden box. But thankfully there wasn't lots of dialogue in the house. It was mainly Daniel running around being scared. So it was a lot of post-production. So when we did get into the studio as a second assistant, I pretty much did nothing for about 3 or 4 weeks. I just sat there making sure the batteries were really well charged.
That's good. Now, how did you battle that scruffiness, all that stubble from the actors?
Yeah, very good point. How did we do that? If I remember rightly, there was actually not much we could do about the physicality of what was happening. It was more of a case of us hoping, really, that they weren't going to move and speak at the same time. A lot of the time, there was usually only one particular culprit, and he didn't have that many lines. But we tried a little bit of spray, and also asking the costume department if there's any way we can not starch the collars, but. Yeah, there was not much we could do about it. It really was probably more of a case of post-production having to sort that one out in the end. Because, sometimes you're just so fixed with costume and makeup. There's really not much you can do. I mean, the thing is, when it's an acoustic sound, it's an acoustic sound. It's just happening. Lav mics pointing down, I think we did that. I think we were using Cozzies at the time back then, and pointing them down from the chest just took a little bit of that top end grizzle off. Putting mics on the head didn't seem to work because it was pointing down at the business that was going on. Yeah, it was just just thinking about that now just makes me cringe.
And how was Mr. Radcliffe to work with him?
Oh, he's top lad. Yeah, he's a really sweet person, fun and full of humility. He was, good to work with. I mean, it seemed a little bit out there on his own, but I guess you have to be when you're the star. You got a lot of lines to remember. But he was a sweet guy. He bought everyone gifts at the end of the show. I think I remember rightly. I got a little travel backgammon set. It was very sweet. Yeah, nice kid.
All right. You also were the assistant sound for Dark Encounter, and is that kind of an alien film?
Yeah, that was the Alien film by Carl Strathy, writer-director. Off the back of Philophobia, the second AD on that, Tom Beecham, got me on a film previous to that at a film studios in Yorkshire called Goldfinch Studios. So I've done a few films up there. I have got linked with those guys. It's a funny old situation, that studio, because you have to sort of live there. It's an old farm with these flats kind of there. So if you're on the film, you live in there. So you literally live the films that you make there, morning to night. You wake up and have breakfast with your crew. You film all day, and then you finish, and you all sit around in the garden in the evening and have a fire and a couple of beers and off to bed and back up again in the morning. It's pretty much like you're trapped for about 6 weeks at a time. But yeah, the Dark Encounter was really good. We got to record some excellent sound on that film and some excellent performances. The PSM on that was Clive Copland. He's a long-term mixer. He's been about for a while. So my second assistant on that was Taz Fairbanks, and she's just the absolute business. She knows her radio mics and protocols very well. So she was an excellent support on that. Yeah, and the crew was mad. It was a mad bunch. We were partying every night. It was a really memorable time. Should we say?
Do you remember any particular challenging miking situations out there? Because a lot of forest and exteriors at night.
Yeah. Well, thankfully we were out in the Dales. Really, sorry, not the Dales. Right out in the sticks. So there's not a lot of exterior sound out there. There's not a lot of stuff going on. There's not planes, trains, and automobiles. So when we were out in the woods, it was perfectly quiet. It was beautiful. We had a really excellent grip department on that, like quite a large team of grips. So there was like a situation where we had 2 people in a car and then 2 people on the back. Sorry, it's a truck. So 2 people in the driver's seats and 2 people on the back of the truck. We wanted to boom the 2 guys on the back of the truck standing up, but it was right in the middle of a field. So I turned around, I said to my assistant, I think we're going to need a deck here. We're going to need like a 4-foot, 5-foot deck for both of us on. And I'd never before that moment had the utilities to call for that. So it was really awesome to be able to just turn to the grip department and say, can I have a 5-foot deck, 6 foot by 4 foot here, please? And they just went, yeah, bang, and just built it in about 5-10 minutes. And then we had our deck to boom from. So that was quite a nice thing to have that support there for you. I'm thinking about the mic situations on that movie. God, Christ, every day was a challenge. Of course, so the interior of the house on that film was built on stilts, mainly for a lot of lighting effects throughout the film. There's these the alien lights and the smoke coming up through the floorboards, but it made it sound like you were on a galleon, like on a ship. So every time anyone moved, it was like creak and like boxy sound. So it was a major challenge to get decent dialogue, clean dialogue in there. So we had a lot of carpets, and we moved very quickly on that film to sort the acoustics out for every scene. Thankfully, there was quite a lot of decor in there as well, a lot of sofas and a lot of carpets as well. But yeah, quite a challenge.
Well, when it comes to miking up talent, do you have a particular set of expendables that you like to use?
Yeah, sure. In my little chest pouch, I've got a little bit of everything in there. I sort of collect a little bit of everything. So I've got Ursa in there. I've got Bumblebee in there. I've got super tape in there. I've got undercovers, overcovers from every manufacturer. I use a lot of pins. I try and hair mic wherever I can. I have little clips. So the dark art of radio miking. I use a lot of the Rycote O-rings, tiny little elastic bands, and these like little dental bands. I use those for hair miking. RM11s, converted RM11s, they're sort of like a little bit softer, quite good at stopping. I like the RM11s because they stop the movement of fabric over it. Of course, there's the Ursa mini mounts, they're great, very smooth. I use Vampire clips for the COS 11s. I've got lots of different stickies. I use a lot of super tape. That just sort of works every time. I think that's an American product that we get shipped in over here. Can't get it in the shops here. Black tack, clear tack, blue tack, all the tacks. Gaffer tape. I use this gaffer tape for what you can't do with gaffer tape. You can't do. Yeah, so that's my little box of bits and bobs. Of course, there's different tapes. I've got this amazing sort of plaster tape that's it's completely aggressive, and you have to warn costume that you're going to use it before you do, because it does leave a residue, but it works every time. I learned that trick off a mixer who did a lot of sports work with very sweaty men trying to get mics to stick to pieces of clothing when someone's running around on a football pitch, etc. Needs a particular type of stick. So I've got this. This is my secret weapon.
All right, let me look at some other items here that you've worked on. Oh, you did some stuff on Wonder Woman 1984. What kind of things were you doing?
Wonder Woman. Peter Devlin, the sound mixer. Again, someone had a day off, the first assistant sound. Adam Ridge had a day off, or it was reshoots. The second assistant stepped up, and I came in and second assisted. Great to see Peter Devlin and his crew and how they worked. He's got a load of Sonar Sax gear as well, so very impressive expensive, gorgeous bit of kit. It was sort of like a special effects day. Not tons and tons of dialogue, but some difficult scenes. It's always difficult. It's always hard. It's always the same job. It's never easy, even when it seems lightweight in terms of words on the day. Often, you're looking. Sometimes, if you haven't got lots of words, you're trying to the smallest bit of dialogue that you might get, or that tiny little bit of SFX. Or sound effects that might happen. If you miss that, it's like, oh my God, it's like, we've been here for like 4 hours of this one word that we're supposed to get. It's proving to be really, really difficult. We did a lot of running around, lots of locations in one day. I mean, on the bigger jobs, it's lovely. You've got people who drive your van away at the end of the day. You don't have to sort of like drive around so much. You got like a Luton lorry, everything just goes straight onto the Luton lorry and someone drives it away for you. It's fantastic. So you can all actually get away on when the day finishes.
Out of all the projects you've worked on, what's been your favorite?
In terms of job satisfaction, I mean, working on the last night in Soho, even though it was just for a day, was a particular privilege, I have to say, just working with Edgar Wright. But working on that with those guys, it was such a privilege. I felt like, I'd really, really made it, even though it was just for a day. And I got paid, incredibly well, which was wonderful.
Well, give us a quick, what was Last Night in Soho about? What was that whole experience?
So I stepped in to cover the first assistant sound, so I was boom operator, and he stepped up to mix. And actually post that, we've worked together again, and we made a pilot for Channel 4. So I'm hoping to work again with my main man over there in the future. That was, like I say, it was a lot of special effects. The special effects days are dialogue light, but like I was saying earlier, that it's even more important to keep your eye on the ball on those days, because you get little glimmers of like really beautiful, like usable sound effects, and if you're not there to get it, you feel like, oh my God, I'm really missed an opportunity here. So that's quite a challenge. I like special effects days, and it was at Ealing Studios in London, which is a notorious place. Quite a history there at Ealing Studios. So again, privileged to be working in that environment with those guys. So it was a proper soundstage, a real soundstage, which is, unless you're making big movies, you don't get that opportunity. So we were using MKH 60s in the sound on that Ealing Studio soundstage, and my God, I could not believe how far away I could have that microphone and get usable dialogue and sound effects. You can actually swing it about in free air. And you can have, actual frames of videography, of consideration. You're not sort of like chasing the line of the frame so much. It makes your life a little bit easier, and you got a little bit more air and space on the sound.
Okay. Now, you don't have to mention any names, but what was the worst project you ever worked on? Just a nightmare. It could have been technical issues. It could have been talent issues.
It's all challenging. It's always challenging. Being part of the sound department is always a challenge on set. I don't think I've ever had a bad job. Of course, the budgets vary and your pay varies, but the job is always the same. People are nice. People are not nice. The pay is sometimes not great. Sometimes it's brilliant. Sometimes you get looked after, sometimes you don't. But the job is always the same. The job is always a challenge. So in terms of what we do, technically speaking, it never really changes. It's always a challenge. So I guess the low budget features in Yorkshire were particularly challenging, because you have to live with everybody all the time, so it's quite exhausting. It's nice when you get to a certain level or reputation to a certain degree where you can turn down work because you know that it's not of interest to you. You just want to, I think, as you grow older, you just want to work with nice people who've got a great vision and they want to include you in that. and respect the work that you do. Without that, it's not a great job. And I find often, like, the more money that gets spent, the more likely that's going to happen.
Well, if you could offer up some advice, for somebody just getting started in production sound, what kind of advice would you give them?
Just go out there and make films. Just go out there and make films with your friends. Make your own films. Just do it. Just get on with it. And if you can, get onto bigger jobs. Chase the responsibility. As an assistant, there's only so many times you can mark up a box and put a battery, on charge and get it to your mixer on time, and before you go completely insane. There's only so many times you can sit there and listen to someone throwing a microphone around on set. I'm grateful that I got the opportunity to, even though it was probably a bit naughty of the production company and of the mixer to put me in such a responsible role so early, it taught me a great deal about the craft. And so I recommend, if you can't get that opportunity, just go out and do it. Just go and make films with your friends. Get your headphones on, get people running around, put microphones on them, swing that pole about over the top of your head for as long as you can bear it, and listen intently, and be fastidious with background noise and signal to noise ratios, and just really listen. Just enjoy listening, getting your headphones on. And, get an ear in.
All right. Well, James, as we kind of wrap things up here, if people wanted to reach out or connect with you online, what's the best way to find out more about you?
Well, I've got a website, jacksound.com. Jack Sound is spelled J-A-K, Sound. That's my initials, James Alexander Cum. And from there you can see my CV, you can see the kit that I use, you can see links to Instagram and Facebook for the company, and you can go to IMDb from there.
Well, this has been great. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, and I just want to say thanks to James Alexander Kuhn for joining us today.
Thank you, Michael Helms. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. I hope I haven't waffled on too much. I probably have, so cheers, Michael.
And I'd like to say thanks to everyone for listening. If you have questions or would like us to discuss a particular topic, email us at locationsoundpodcast@gmail.com. Please subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. We're available on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and on your favorite podcast app. Until next time, remember, sound is half the picture.